Welcome, friends and cowardly ice agents, to another kick-ass episode of the InfoHazard Podcast Show. I'm your host, David, joined by my friends Danny and Phil.
Hell yeah, us. Boo, ice.
Oh man, it is hot. I could use some ice. Not in my room right now, though. No thanks.
Congratulations. You've got ice in your neighborhood.
I'd say if you're a soldier and you're bullying peaceful protesters, you might be the baddie.
If you take time out of your day to shoot journalists, you might be the baddie.
What if you just ride your horse over protesters and trample them?
No, that's good. No, obviously that.
Yeah. So, what's new and interesting? Danny, are you our lead?
Sure can be. I don't have something new, but I do have something that I found very interesting. So
Cool.
This is a YouGov poll from 2022. They polled 1,000 Americans about some demographic data, basically. So what they did is they're like, what percent of America is, transgender, live in Texas, left-handed? Like all of these, they pulled them and they compared the average of what people said compared to the true proportion. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So here's an example. I'm not sure what the best format to do this is. Maybe I'll give you a category.
Make us guess.
You can guess what you think the true proportion is and what you think that Americans think the proportion is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that reminds me of that guessing game where was Family Feud.
Price is Right.
Yeah. Family Feud, where you have to guess what people guessed. A survey of Americans guessed.
Good, yes, Family Feud. Let's do it.
All right.
I don't feel proud of knowing that. I knew daytime TV from my childhood. That doesn't help me now.
Maybe it will.
So let's start off with, let's see. Okay. What percent of households have an income over $1 million?
An income.
Annual?
And so what's the true
in 2022?
Yeah. So you want to guess what people guessed and then also guess what the true proportion is.
I think I have guesses of both of these.
Okay.
All right.
You go first.
Go first, David.
All right. I feel like people are going to guess that it's 1%. And
agreed. That was my same number.
I think it's probably more like 0.1%.
I'm going to say it's 100%.
So for this one, they only give me the nearest percent, but people guessed 20%. And the actual proportion is 0%. So somewhere between 0 and 0.5%.
So it rounds down, basically. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
20%?
Yeah. So Americans think that, 1 out of 5 people around them is a millionaire, apparently.
Oh my God.
Well, no, they're just those liberal elites that we need to stomp into submission with horses.
This really lends a lot of credit to the temporarily embarrassed millionaires theory of conservative discourse.
I mean, that was the average.
Yeah, that was people's average guess. So, one person might have guessed 50%. 100% or whatever. And then
I want to know
how many people responded?
So they surveyed 1,000 people.
Oh, okay.
I would want to know the median guess.
So they actually have that also. Let me scroll down. All right.
Statistics.
All right.
What's
the median is 10%. So much closer. Much better on the median.
Yeah, usually averages are idiotic.
All right.
I mean, doesn't that just mean that someone guessed 100% and fucked it up?
Basically, yes.
Okay, that actually does bring me back to the thing we were talking about before the show, that Americans were polled on favorability of a bunch of things, and one of them was the bubonic plague, and the bubonic plague scored 7% approval.
Higher than Congress.
It's just people just putting anything down on a survey.
Right. You could get to 10% just by 10% of people just randomly saying 100%. But no, let's just go with it. Let's assume that, a well-designed survey should incentivize you to guess correctly, right? Do they pay people more if their answers were correct?
I don't think so. At least they didn't mention anything about that.
They should. Man, that follow-up. We could do that. We just need money. If you have a donation for this survey, you can send us your Venmo to what's our infohazardshow@gmail.com.
And your social. Next one, Dan.
All right. So let's go with a different one. So what percent of Americans have at least one child?
Well, this one's weird. What percent of Americans have at least one child?
2022, there's a pretty big proportion of our population that's over 40 or 50. So a lot more of them are going to have one child. I'd say people guessed I'd say people guess like 100% because they're stupid, and I'm gonna guess like 30%.
Guess it's more than 30%. Because, like, okay, I mean, like, you can rule out groups. I feel like it's easier to go subtraction and say, like, okay, no one under 15, obviously, simplification. Uh, and then, like, I don't know, right, people over 40. Like, most people have at least one kid over 40, who are over 40. Like, probably 75% of people over 40
That
have a
might,
kid.
yeah, that makes more sense actually.
Let's say 50%. That's my guess, or maybe 60, because just to commit myself to thinking that the majority of people have at least one kid.
And so what do you think people guessed for this?
Didn't you hear me? I said 100%.
Yeah, but I'm asking David because he
Okay,
had his guess. But so
so
what does
like
he think that
what is
people
the
think?
what is like the weird broken math that people used here? They probably ignored children. They probably just forgot that children exist, and they also probably confused couples and said, I don't know, 80.
So this is one of the ones where it's really close together. So people guessed 58%, and the true number is 57.
Nice.
When David guessed 60, it was very close.
Yeah, I put myself to fucking shame. Just like all it took was explaining like a little bit of the logic behind it, and I was like, oh no, I'm cooked.
We could have just sampled from this call. We would have done pretty well.
All right. So now let's do a
Thirds.
hot button issue here. Transgender. What percent of Americans are transgender?
People said probably like 10% or 5 to 10%. I'm gonna guess the actual number is like 1% or less, or 0%.
I feel like I'm a little. I think that's very reasonable. Yeah, I definitely would guess that people overestimate it. I also know that it's been going up, and also like there's this whole like set of different gender identities and stuff that like might count as transgender, and I feel like I'm not even clear. Like if your age, I don't know, if you don't identify as anything, does that make you transgender? I don't know. So I would say I'm gonna go with like 2% as the real number, just to say something different than Phil. If Phil wasn't here, I would have said 1%. And I feel like people would have guessed something like way too high, like 20%.
Damn, you're right on, dude. So the actual number is 1%, and the average guess was 21%.
Nice.
Dude, I'm good
Wow.
at this.
The people just
Crushing
think
it.
that like, you know, one fifth of people are transgender though.
Right. Well, what percentage of the time on Fox News is spent
Yeah, that's
scaring people about transgender people?
yeah. Which is basically like why I wanted to like bring this up with like, you know, people have like such a distorted view of reality dictated by the media, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, if it weren't for all those trans people, then there wouldn't be these damn tariffs. At least that's my understanding.
All right, so let's do some religious ones. All right, so for
God.
what percent of Americans are Jewish?
Pretty low. Culturally Jewish or religiously Jewish?
Just says
Or
Jewish.
ethnically Jewish? Because there's kind of three.
Does Jehovah's Witnesses count?
People marked it on the Census Bureau, I think is what they used for this, like the source of actual stuff. So what percent of
Yeah.
people mark Jewish on their census?
Right. That makes more sense.
I feel like I've had a very biased sample in my upbringing. I feel like you guys should just count from your own, just like think
From
of,
my own
think,
cohort?
yeah, think of 10 people and count how many of them are Jewish.
1. So I guess 10%? That seems high. I think it's less than 10%.
I would guess 3%.
I'm going to guess 2%.
And then what do people think?
Yeah, what do people guess as the what percent?
How
of
many
Americans are Jewish?
transgender people did they imagine there were?
21,
something?
21%.
I'm going to guess
Right.
21%.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's just like, yeah, just by the logic of like,
It's just
it's
just like a no logic guess. It's just like that's something I recognize, random guess.
it's how much time is left over on Fox after infomercials and just directly attacking Democrats. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just go 40%. No, I'm not. I can't do that. That would be too stupid. I believe in Americans. 20%.
So the actual number is 2%, and people guessed 30%.
Did I
they
get
think
it exactly?
1 in 3
2%?
Americans. Yeah, I think so.
I thought you guessed 20%. All right, whatever. I'll give you credit.
No, because he guessed both, right? Because you have to
Yeah,
guess
I
two,
guess
two
that
things.
people guessed 20%,
Right.
and then I guess 2%. Like
right,
the
but
milk.
people actually guessed 30% though.
30?
Yeah, people guessed 30%. So
Okay.
basically 1 in 3 people.
There's the 3 kinds of Americans: Jews, Christians, and atheists.
Yeah.
Can't think of any others.
Jews, transgender.
Jews, transgender, and Republicans.
God. Oh.
All right.
Numbers, just numbers are, fractions, by the way, is where people just like fall off a cliff with math. So it's not surprising that they're like.
Just imagine if we, like, Americans had to take the Gaokao to, like, get into the professional world.
I don't even know what the Gaokao is.
It's the Chinese SAT. It's like
Okay.
a much more rigorous testing standard.
Mm.
All right. So the next one is, what percent of Americans are Christian?
I think it's actually still pretty high. That would have put Christian down on the census. I think it only recently dipped below 50%. So I'm going to say 50%.
I thought it was headed back up recently.
No, that could very well be true.
I mean, I'll believe anything if they'll just like leave me alone,
I'm going to guess people said 80%. Because that's kind of where this group of surveyors' head is at.
Well, but okay, but yeah, no, yeah. I think it's going to be 50 and 50.
Okay. So people did guess 56%. And the true proportion is 70%.
Wow.
So they were actually underestimated, this group.
Wow.
Which is basically the broad trend of like they tend to really overestimate minority populations and underestimate majority populations.
70%?
I mean, this is 70% said on the census.
So they said their true proportions were drawn from a variety of sources, including the U.S. Census Bureau, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and polls by YouGov and other polling firms.
Okay.
I might.
Yeah. All right.
All right. And so for the last religion one, I don't think we need to do both. Should we do what percent of Americans are Muslim or what percent of Americans are atheists? Which sounds more interesting to you?
I don't know. Maybe they're both a little spicy.
I'll guess Muslims, and Phil, you can guess.
I'll guess atheists.
Okay. So let's do atheists first, I guess.
If there's 70% Christians, or was it 70?
70.
I'm going to guess like 3% atheists.
Really?
And like pretty low. I feel like the majority of respondents would put like agnostic or some other group.
I'm going to guess that people think 25% of the country is Muslim, and that in reality, 1% of the country is Muslim, maybe 2%.
Yeah, I think there's probably more Jewish people than Muslims in the country.
That is how I did my derivation.
All right.
Okay.
And so what do you think people guessed? Yeah. For atheists.
I'm going to guess people guessed 20%.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are actually really good at this. For what percent are Muslim? They guessed 27%, and the actual number is 1%. And for atheists, they guessed 33%, and the actual number is 3%. Yeah, you guys are crushing it, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys are way better at this than the average American, dude. Way better.
And that's why you need to like, comment, and subscribe to InfoHazard.
Woo!
Because we're better than you. Damn it.
Okay, easy. What?
JK, love you. Love you,
let's
listeners.
Let's guess what percentage of our viewers will like or comment, and what percentage do I think will like or comment?
Okay, so this one is pretty funny to me. Like, what percent of Americans live in New York City?
1.5%.
New York City is how many people? Do you know how many people live in LA?
Well, I mean, I think LA is confused. The city of LA is a lot smaller in population than the city of Los Angeles, because LA has all these other cities.
Sure.
And it's super sprawly.
Yeah.
I
But
think
like
it's
the
probably
greater LA area. Because like New York is a bigger city than LA.
I would guess that LA County has 10 million people.
10 million. So yeah, probably like 15 million in New York. So as a percentage of like 383 million, however much that math is.
Man, yeah, it's a two-part question, isn't it?
This is the fun part of the podcast where I use a calculator.
I mean, you could just be Googling the answer.
Oh.
By the way, I guess that New York's population was 5 million, and I was dividing by 350. I was assuming the U.S. population is 350 million, and so
I'm gonna guess
I said 1.5%.
3% or 3.6%. I'm going to give
4%.
both.
Okay, and what do you guys think people guessed as the percent?
1%. Less than 1%. 0%.
1%.
You think people guessed low?
I think people guess low.
Yeah. So the true proportion is 3%. So you guys were pretty close. And people guessed 30%, which they also guessed for, I'm just going to tell you, which they also guessed for what percent live in Texas.
What? Okay.
Which, when the actual number is 9%. And they guessed 32% for California when the actual number is 12%.
Well, the math adds up. New York, Texas, California. That's it.
There's nothing else in the entire country, you know?
Yeah. Numbers are hard.
Nifty, nifty United States.
All right. So let's see. Okay. Let's do like one or two more. All right. What percent of Americans own a gun?
Ooh.
You go first.
50 and 50.
You think 50 and 50?
Yeah. I mean, I
I'm
think
gonna go.
there are more guns than people, but I think like most gun owners own multiple guns.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And you think people accurately guessed this?
the people guessed it?
Okay, right. Do I think people like think that everybody owns guns? Or maybe they think like everybody owns guns. So maybe like, okay, whatever, alternate guess since I'm being forced to change. I guess
No, you don't have to. You can guess whatever you want.
50% really do, and then people think that 75% do.
I think they're a little expensive. They're like cheap compared to like our purchasing power. Like we get them pretty cheap as Americans, but like they're still a bit of an expense. I'm gonna guess like 35% of Americans own guns, and people guessed like 70%.
Okay, so the true proportion is 32%, so Phil's very close. And people guessed 54%. So,
okay.
Overestimated it pretty bad.
Yep, I did.
All right. What percent of Americans are obese?
So, on this call, it's like 33%.
Beast.
You fat fuck, Danny. I'm just kidding.
Got a fat beard these days. Probably like 70% is the true number, and 30% is what people would guess.
70% is the true number?
I mean, obese, we're talking about like a BMI, like what is the...
Well, I know it's like way overestimated because it's like based on math from like the 1800s, and like the average height has gone up over time, which has like really thrown off these calculations because it doesn't account for the volume of a taller body very well. But I don't think 70%.
Well, I mean,
30.
I know that I am at, or whatever, my weight fluctuates, but like by BMI, sorry, there's overweight. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the categories are. Obese.
So BMI is greater than 30 is obese, according to my...
Can I calculate my own BMI before I... Because
Sure.
I can just
Go for it.
do a body comparison with everyone I see.
My skinniest, I was morbidly obese, just
Yeah.
by like size ratio.
I think 70% of the country is obese.
I'm gonna go 30.
Okay. And what did you guys think people would guess for this?
I think people guess 70 because David guessed 70.
I think people guess 30.
All right. So the true proportion is 42%, and people guessed 56%.
Okay.
All right, so I obviously got all my good luck out of the way on the early ones, and then Phil crawled his way back.
Now that you're guessing wrong, it's luck. Earlier it was skill.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you understand.
Yeah. So basically, people tend to like push the true number closer to 50% than it actually is. So they overestimate minority groups and they underestimate majority
Well, hold on.
groups.
I mean, any number, if you just guess randomly, you're more likely to guess closer to 50%, right? Because more of the number line gap is...
But so there's actually like a psychological thing at play here. Basically, it's like people are like doing like a compensation effect where they like guess something internally and then like correct it. And that's what like pulls them doing this.
Nice.
And also, being a member of these groups did not make you any more accurate at guessing. Like, Muslims weren't more accurate at guessing the true proportion of Muslims, etc.
That's weird.
So
I have
for
a theory
example-
as to why we're better than the average population.
Okay, what is it?
I think that we're just cocksure and full of vim and vinegar, and we're not doing that extra step of adjusting down or up our guess. We're just like, I think it's this. I'm just gonna say it. We've self-sampled for people who would go and make a podcast.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, I've also like Googled shit that resembles this before. Like, I already knew some of these things more or less. Kind of like
Also
cheating.
knowing stuff.
So it works for even other stuff. So like people guessed 34% of adults are left-handed. They only like the actual number is 10 to 12%.
That's higher than I would have thought.
Also, 77% of Americans have read a book in the past year.
Whoa!
People guessed only 50%.
Good job.
Go us, dude.
Wow.
Not as bad as I would have guessed.
Right
Yeah.
on.
So, I don't know. Pretty
Where's
interesting.
my book?
People are really bad at guessing, proportions.
Nice.
Read that in the last year.
So if you're
I bet that also accounts for like children who are made to read books. But
C-spot run.
yeah, exactly. Like my 5-year-old daughter has read more books in the past year than I have, and she can't read.
All right. So who's next?
I'll go next.
You'll
I'll
do
go
it?
next.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're topical.
Yes.
You know, we try. I'm
Top me,
sorry.
Phil.
We're taught me daddy. We're a weekly show, and our topical things are not always gonna feel the freshest, but bear with me, audience. This needs to be discussed because last week on Wednesday, the breakup of the season that we all knew was coming finally arrived into our news feeds. Trump and Musk, a couple of messy bitches.
They were so cute
They're
together.
splitting up.
How could they? They were perfect for each other.
So what do you guys know about this? Do like a little. It was all over, but just give me like a brief summary.
I mean, you dibsed it on our text thread like as soon as it started, so I was like, all right, I'm not going to pay any attention, and I'll like get to
Good.
learn all about it.
Good.
I paid a little attention to it. Just like this is
Spoilers.
hilarious.
Yeah. So the shortest version of this is that these like the richest man in America and the most powerful man in America teamed up very briefly to vaguely do the same goals. But these are like the two biggest egos on the planet. So they were always destined to tear each other apart at some point. So what happened was Musk's special government employee time came to an end, and he wanted to stick around in the White House to keep doging. And Trump was like, meh, no, I think that's fine. And he gave him a golden key, like a literal like key to the city key. It's like, this guy's the greatest guy. You know, you can do the voice in your head. This is the greatest guy. He's so cool for America and all that stuff. And get the fuck out of here. At press conference, Musk was sporting a little shiner, which he claimed was from his son,
Lil X.
Lil X.
What a piece of shit. Man, we need like if this is a drinking game, just like I don't know, every time either of these people are just like totally insufferable dicks, like take a shot, we'll be dead by the second tweet.
There's a lot to go over, and it made me so very happy, and I hope it makes you all happy. I hope it makes you all happy. I figured the best way to celebrate this is to do another tier list, our patented tier lists.
It's not actually patented. Please don't sue us.
Yeah, we're basically the only people who do tier lists on the internet, so
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive stuff. All right. Sweet.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's get down to business. Get some technical difficulties out of the way. David's going to be sharing. Number 1. So, this is the first cracks in the hull of the Titanic. Elon Musk is saying here, I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on you, those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it! So, we are going to be rating these on a scale of cattiness and sassiness. So our S tier is, well, let's start from the bottom. D tier is it's giving struggle. And above that we have bitch please. Getting a little better. We're serving looks. Doing a little better. We're doing the most. And at our top, our S tier is slay queen.
I don't know what any of these phrases mean. Like serving looks. I that it's something that angry girls do to each other.
You wouldn't understand. It's ballroom, baby.
Okay.
I think we should, put this one right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. This is
It's the
the
starting
opening
one.
salvo.
Yeah, the standard by which the others shall be judged. They'll be
Yeah.
better than this or worse
Got
than
it.
this.
So-
Either we're escalating or descalating.
Okay, got it. So that's what
We're
we're
getting
ranking
like
them.
a little spicy. We're not full on knives out, claws out just yet. But we're not exactly a pathetic display either. Right in the middle.
That ended pretty strong, The like you did wrong, you know it.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
like
mean-
it. The righteous indignation.
I mean, it was also. Assuming we're like rating this on like how like mean they're being to each other, because that one's a little passive aggressive, right? Because it's obviously Trump's bill, right? So it's like okay, it's definitely got the passive aggressive going for it.
Yeah.
All right,
We could
You
be a
ready?
little bit more targeted.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Now he's getting even more passive aggressive. He's looking up old shit. This is Elon. He's got an old tweet from Trump where Trump says, "I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I am a Republican and I am embarrassed."
Ooh.
And Elon Musk says, "Wise words." So, what do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I feel like calling out Donald Trump as a hypocrite is like pretty basic bitch shit. Like,
Bitch
it's
shit.
easy. Everyone does
Easy
it.
bitch shit. Easiest bitch shit of my life. Not the most pathetic. We really have to save room at the bottom, but it's like low tier bitch shit for sure. It's like, oh my god, Donald Trump is a hypocrite. Rain wet, sun warm.
If you think about it, the rain isn't wet though. It just makes things wet.
Okay, Danny.
Fuck out of here.
What are you talking about? All right.
Okay. All right. Now we're getting into the responses. Now we're with the feud is beginning. So this is one of Elon's bootlickers retweeting something that Trump said. Trump says, "I'm very disappointed with Elon. I've helped him a lot. He knew the inner workings of the bill better than anybody sitting here. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out we're gonna cut the EV mandate."
All right, going.
I like
for
that
where
it's
it hurts.
specific.
Going
you know?
for the wallet.
I think it's pretty mid tier one again. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's certainly not
It's
like clever
self-serving.
or anything. Just kind of like derp. But at least he went for
Yeah.
the wallet.
It's in that same sort of passive aggressive space, but at least he's like directly addressing Musk. Let's go serving looks.
Serving looks. All
Or
right.
bitch, please. You looked like we could downgrade it. We could
I
put
was
it down.
definitely in bitch please. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
bitch, please.
This is bitch please
All
to
right,
me.
let's move on.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Potentially into some self-incrimination. Elon says, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate." So this requires some background information, I think.
Well, because
he was
this is the response to Trump being like, "Oh, I helped him a lot." He's just like
Yeah.
clapping back. "I helped you a lot."
exactly, and the biggest campaign donor, which is how you could read that. Or, you could also read that in the sort of more conspiratorial way where, Trump alludes to Elon. He's good with those voting machines. Like this could be a slight reference to maybe some election tampering.
It is like a very specific. It's like, I don't know, like you donate money, right? Like it's like it would have been 51-49, and then they would have lost this many seats over here. But yeah, no, I'm not.
I don't think the election was stolen.
I don't think
just
so
wanna
either.
state that for the record.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, so this just seemed like he was just like, I feel like there was logic here. He's just sort of arguing against Elon's point. So like, I think that when you bring logic to this game, you are serving looks.
I feel like giving logic to a flame war with Donald Trump puts you clearly in the it's giving struggle.
That's a good point.
That's true.
Trying to make Donald Trump have gratitude also. It's definitely not an effective.
Yeah. Yes, it's not. It doesn't. There's no appeal to emotion here. All right,
It's
you
pretty
guys are
weak
right.
sauce, yeah. Like it's not sassy. It's just like that's like you could imagine that kind of tweet in the era of like George W. Bush, kind of milquetoast.
Right.
I could imagine getting really mad at some Democratic senator posting that, just like, you could be doing something rather than just like sniping about all this logical
Hypocrisy.
shit.
All right, next up.
Okay, here we go. Now this is a good idea. This is a good idea. So I don't know if it even belongs on the list because we're really bringing up some good points that I think everyone should really treat very seriously. So Elon says, "It's time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle?" Question mark?
Is it time? Right.
Like-
Yeah, he made a poll. So yeah.
Yeah, he made a poll. And
Democratic.
80% of people who follow the Elon Musk Twitter
Agree with him.
agree with him.
Now, see, this one I would believe he rigged this election.
Sort of.
That was very suspicious. He said that 80% and 80% of people voted for it. I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
I mean, it's definitely time for Elon Musk to spend his entire fortune to fund a new political party that is like overlapping with the Republicans. I think it's
And
definitely
I think
time
he
for
should
that.
run. Like it's really he's the only one who like can capture the hearts and minds of the American people. Like who do people love more than Elon Musk?
Anyway, so does this serving
Yersinia
looks...
pestis.
Shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm gonna say this is Slay Queen. This is the best one.
Yeah?
This is
Yeah.
Slay Queen.
No way, dude. This is not the best one. No
Guys,
way.
guys, it's the best one. Shut up.
Okay,
This
I
is the
mean,
best idea.
We'll go doing the most because it's lonely, and I believe that it gets better. All
Okay,
right, That
okay.
was number
All right, we're moving on. We're
5,
moving
now we're
on.
on to 6. Okay.
What's next?
All right, up next.
Okay, this is a two-parter. Trump, truth's back. The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Elon was
Because
wearing
Biden
thin.
is not like a fucking petty little bitch. God.
Yeah,
Surprised that Biden didn't take arbitrary like actions to hurt his political opponents illegally. Sorry.
a man can dream. A man can dream. Elon was wearing thin.
I
asked him
believe
to
that.
leave.
I mean, he was wearing thin.
Fireball
The guy
of
looks-
charisma. Elon Musk was wearing thin. I don't
Guy
believe
looks like a skeleton
it.
with a black eye.
I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars, which was huge for us. We all had to buy them. It was crazy, and no one wanted them. That he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. All right, what do you guys think?
I'd say it's like sort of the upper half, but not like, far into the upper half,
This one
maybe.
somehow does like trigger me a little more. I don't know why. Just it's stupid, I guess.
Biden mentioned
This one
bad
seems-
memories.
Republicans
brought
used to get mad when the government chose winners and losers.
Yeah, maybe just Biden. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Why didn't Biden do that, dude?
Yeah.
I mean, like that, it wouldn't be top of my list, but it's a question that I think is valid, and I think for that reason, this has got to go in like at least serving looks, if not
All right.
doing the most.
We're serving
I'd say
looks.
serving looks.
Serving looks, keeping
Okay.
things Gaussian.
All right. What do you think about this next one? Is this the big bombshell or no? Let's bring it up.
Is this
Okay.
what you're referring to?
Yes. Elon Musk, in a shocking display, repeats information that everyone already knows. Donald and Melania. Donald, of course, long-time fan of Jeffrey Epstein, has more pictures with old Jeff than he has with his own children.
I mean, is that is that factual?
I think it's factual. Look it up. I'll chat GPT it. Anyways, so the actual text of the tweet here, or the zeet, is time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. All right.
No consultation. You're just putting it right up there. You're
Yes.
deciding.
Straight. I mean,
I would agree with it, actually, but I just wanted to, call you
I
out
like
there
it.
for
I
your
like it.
dictatorial tendencies.
I mean, you can always
Yeah.
move them around, but I feel like that one was pretty obvious.
I mean, I feel like we're pretty used to people calling Donald a fascist, like a pedophile is a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, really good to have them calling each other pedophiles. That's yeah.
Plus, I really enjoy the, have a nice day. Donald
Yeah,
J.
yeah,
Trump
yeah.
at
That
the
was
end.
good.
Now, I don't know if it changes your mind on this one. He did later delete that tweet. So we're getting into the
Oh, what a
space
little
of
bitch,
things
dude.
where
Dude.
he starts like bitching out on some of these statements.
Dude, gotta circle back.
Comes down
to
off the ketamine.
giving. Right, he's like, "What did I do?"
He turns on his phone and he sees 1,000 messages from his PR agency.
I mean,
Probably wouldn't even be talking about this if it wasn't for the Epstein thing. So I think it's got to be the number one.
yeah. All right.
This is funny. This is just an excerpt from the shithead Civil War. You see, because these are the two biggest names in conservative American politics, and they're fighting, and the worst people are upset about it. Like Kanye West, for example. Bros, please, no! Hug emoji. We love you both so much.
The luminary black Nazi Kanye West
This is what It's Giving Struggle is made for. This is the most pathetic episode of the whole thing.
Taking a break from promoting his album, what was it, Heil Hitler or whatever?
Wait, really?
Yeah, that's his latest album that he just released like last week or the week before, I think.
You need a lower tier, Phil.
Luminary. No doubt about it. Black Klansman. Okay, I like this one. President versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. That's another one of the, like a mainstay of the right-wing Twitter space, Ian Miles Chong.
I thought his handle was still gay for a second.
No.
Misread that one.
That's a reference to. Maybe he's just like a fan of the New York Times. The Gray Lady.
Must be it, dude. Conservatives famously love the New York Times.
So I like the fan fiction. Like, I mean, we indulge in American politics fan fiction sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as for Elon's contribution, I'm not impressed.
Pretty lazy.
And
just
also,
yes. Just yes. Donald Trump should be impeached. Yes.
Yeah, we'll give. Okay, got it. So yeah, on that, him agreeing that Trump should be impeached, like that's a
pretty big step.
Well, so which one are we rating? Are we rating the Elon tweet, which is just yes, or are we rating the Ian Miles tweet?
It's
are we
all
rating
about the context and the layers.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, this is like a delicious layer cake.
I mean, J.D. Vance, I guess.
Would we rather have J.D. Vance as president? I'm not sure.
I guess.
I don't know which side of that issue is more of the monkey's paw. I guess yes, more than Trump. Yeah. I just don't think Republicans have the juice without him. I say like anything to get Trump out of office is good for the country.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, probably fair.
Yeah, so this one is lame, right? This is just some suck up, and he just says yes, which is like.
I think I like the call for impeachment. I just like the laziness has got to put it in bitch please.
Did I skip? I think I skipped a few. Sorry. Which one is this?
Sorry, there's no order. We can go backwards.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's this one. Sorry. So this one is where are you guys putting it? I'm in
one of those bottom two.
We'll go.
Yeah,
bitch,
have you
please.
opened up number 9 here?
I think I skipped number 9. Let's see. No, but wait. Okay, got it.
Another two-parter. We got Donald Trump's statement. The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. So we already went over that. Elon, getting pissy and taking his toys home, says, in light of the president's statement about the cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately.
Yeah.
So this is the only US-based rocket capable of sending supplies to the International Space Station currently. I don't know when that happened, but apparently that is controlled by Elon, not the government. So that's bad, probably.
If you're a SpaceX shareholder, when you see this, dude, you gotta be having a heart attack, right? He's just like, someone's trying to shoot me in the foot. Let me shoot myself in the stomach.
I mean, he's just obviously bullshitting, right? He's not.
Well, okay, so this actually has a really funny follow-up.
Yeah.
Which is
right.
Okay, but well, we won't get to it though.
I think we gotta rate this one with the follow-up because that changes it completely.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know the follow-up, so I'll just rate this one as it is for now. Or the follow-up is next, right?
Yeah, we can move it.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got the courtroom pick of the follow-up.
So here there is like a pretty like a genuine messed up threat. So maybe this is just doing the most actually. It's already like a substantial threat, though it's obviously.
Yeah. I think there's like a level of pettiness that like puts it up in this sort of flawless scale. So I'm doing the most.
Doing the most.
Or if you're an astronaut, dude, you're just like watching this happen. You're just like, oh shit.
It's like, well, R.I.P. to my bone density, I guess.
Okay, so do you want the Bannon one? The Bannon one is next.
Yeah, number 11. Here we go. Steve Bannon, living,
handsome fella,
breathing goblin. He's a conservative.
Is he drunk right now? He's got that glow.
I mean, he's awake, so I have to imagine.
Okay.
His eyes are open, at least. So Steve Bannon weighed in after this particular threat about taking the spaceship back. He urged Trump to seize SpaceX assets using the Defense Production Act, seizing private assets from the government, and followed up by calling for Elon to be deported. So it's like a 1-2 punch of government overreach, which I gotta respect him for that. Slay Queen.
I think he gets the Slay Queen. I mean, obviously, there's a doing the most makes sense there too. I mean, how wrong is he really about the Defense Production Act? I mean,
no, I 100% agree. This is the most I've ever agreed with Steve Bannon. The government should seize all of SpaceX's assets and deport Elon Musk.
And then they can rename it
no
NASA
notes.
and be like,
yeah,
we're paying for it the whole time anyway. Yeah, I mean, it is like a big national security problem that like this little baby like thinks he could actually just like unilaterally kill our space program. Like he's just like some rich guy could just do that. That's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts.
It's not just some rich guy, it's the richest guy.
Right.
The richest guy of all time.
Well, I mean, it's debatable, dude. He doesn't own any slaves. I mean, Ancient would laugh at him.
What
Roman landowners would scorn him.
What portion of Germania does he own?
All right.
He's competing with Julius Caesar and Mansa Musa, basically.
Yeah, no, deporting him.
I love that.
I think it'd be ideal to seize his assets and then deport him. I think you got to do these two together.
I'm not so picky about the order.
All right. Anyways, next up.
Okay, here we go.
Wait. I do want to mention that so some random guy tweeted Elon that he should take a bit and cool down, and Elon was like, "Okay, you're right. I won't decommission Dragon."
Okay.
So some random guy with like 19 followers or whatever tweeted him, and Elon replied.
I like including like the rando influencers, and this guy who's just not an influencer, just a guy. I like including that with the Elon post because he's very clearly just glued to his phone and spiraling out. I think that adds a lot of nice texture to these events. Donald Trump is not
spends his time like shit posting on the internet, dude.
Donald Trump is not going at it with the reply guys. Donald Trump is just spouting things into the world. So, speaking of things he's spouting, the dreaded alliterative nickname is wielded against Elon Musk. Donald Trump says, Elon Musk, or mediocre Musk, is constantly high on ketamine, always making promises he can't keep. Not to be trusted. He wants to go to Mars. How about you go back to Africa?
I don't know.
Deport.
This one's pretty good.
Yeah, I also like just a little, like a little bit of spice on it. Just make it just a little bit racist right at the end. Just invoking the phrase "back to Africa."
Yeah. It's awful.
Plus, if he's constantly high on ketamine, why did you put him in charge of like large swathes of the government?
Yeah.
Hey, if Donald Trump is a pedophile, why did you help get him elected?
Yeah, right?
If he's mediocre, questions. Why did you put him in charge of the government? Pow, 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 shooting themselves. Pow, 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 pow. Slay Queen. It makes me so happy to think of Elon getting deported.
Wait, no, this one wasn't
kicked out of his Texas office or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So
back
great.
to Africa. Right, yeah, okay.
Rounded up by ICE.
They'd probably send him to the wrong African country, too.
Just send him to El Salvador.
Yeah, like here, back to Africa, El Salvador.
Shave his head and throw him in Seacot.
Damn.
Actually, that made me a little sad. I don't even want to joke.
I'm not. I would like for that.
But then again, I don't necessarily want to subject any country to Elon Musk. So I don't know.
All right,
Mars it is.
Cat turd and 2.
Yeah. So this is just a little side section I call the further dividing of the shitheads. As you can see, Cat Turd here is responding to @RealAlexJones, who says Trump needs to respond it's Alex Jones. Trump needs to respond ASAP. I noticed he did not take the questions at his public meeting today. And Cat Turd responds,
good.
What a piece of shit Alex Jones turned out to be. What a fucking fraud. He literally is implying that Trump is a pedo. He's been silent all day while Trump has been viciously attacked with lies. I used to respect Alex Jones, but now he's just a piece of shit fraud. What a fucking sellout. Okay. All right. Who do you think got the better of this one?
I mean, Alex Jones, he's just,
I mean, yeah,
saying the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Alex Jones. Alex Jones does tend to have more zazz than a lot of these conservative influencers. He's got a lot more stage presence and
This is
charisma.
This is just yucky, man. Who would have thought a Cat Turd would just give some yucky? I don't know.
Probably the bottom one.
Yeah,
I think.
I did not like that.
I maybe would bounce it up to bitch please for the 12 to 15 years too late. Maybe Trump is actually a pedophile.
I mean, but he didn't even say that. I mean, he was just saying Trump needs to respond. I mean, the other guy was complaining about something that that Alex Jones didn't even do. It's now you're calling him a pedo. It's he's not calling him a pedo. He's saying he needs to respond.
Yeah, but he's
implying
it.
He's not. I don't think he's implying it. I don't know. Whatever. I wasn't.
It's a little jumping the gun on Cat Turd's part here. I can't really. Okay. I basically just put this in because that's just the state of our political discourse. Yeah. I have to debate the merits of Cat Turd. I wonder what Big Balls thinks about this. Let's move on. Okay.
This is another calling out his hypocritical older tweets.
Yeah, he's still in it. He's still going at it. He goes back
it's so tempting, dude. I mean, you've never been tempted to, dunk on Donald Trump for being a ridiculous hypocrite?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. It is pointless, but it feels good when you do it,
Yeah. I can't put it above bitch please, though. Just for that reason.
That's...
Don't
what was the actual statement? I missed it. It was he's hypocritical because... okay, you shouldn't be allowed to run for Congress if there's a deficit.
I mean, that also is a really
two geniuses agreeing on a totally feasible policy.
Right, that is a ridiculous, nonsensical thing to agree with in the first place.
Anytime you get into a war, you have to kick all of Congress out and pick new people.
Sounds smart.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least.
We're topping it out. Just give Trump the last word on this because I think he had the most endurance. Was posting the latest. When Elon Musk came to the White House asking for me to help on his many subsidized projects, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere without which subsidies he'd be worthless, and telling me how he was a big Trump fan and Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it.
Hell yeah. I think this is the top tier one, dude. Just the picture, too, is incredible. It adds so much.
I mean...
How would you characterize Elon's pose here, dude? He's like an alien trying to blend in. I don't even know.
Oh, he just looks normal to me.
Trying not to alert people around him that he walked into the wrong room.
I think...
No, it just looks like he's standing so stiffly and unnaturally.
Stuck on a coat hanger.
Look, yeah, smiling in a photo is not for everybody. It's I'm with them. Donald's got a huge smile. It seems he's
as big as he was when he was promoting those baked beans or whatever. Just yeah, buy my beans.
Okay. Yeah, so that one, boy. Well, so the whole just the dominance language, the a teeny bit sexualized.
Oh yeah, dude, top tier.
But you think that's top? I mean, I think that
absolutely.
I think because he's staying in the fight a little too long. I'd say down a little bit. Serving looks. Maybe doing the most.
I think I'm with Phil. I'm not that impressed. But yeah, the drop. I could have said drop to your knees and beg.
Yeah, by this time, Elon listened to that random guy with 19 followers and started deleting his tweets. So, this is a one-sided thing where Trump is just going on and on about how how pathetic Elon is and he's not responding anymore. So, yeah, I don't think you can quite make it to the top. But yeah, that's the feud. It's basically done by now, but it made me happy. I hope it made you happy, audience.
Oh,
All right, are we gonna win like some sort of Pulitzer Prize for our tier list based journalism here? Where are the tier lists on CNN, dude? Fox News doesn't have tier lists. This is why the people come to InfoHazard, dude.
You know what I
You
say?
really learn.
I say, see a need, fill a need. That's my motto.
this was agony. This was hilarious. But God, how pathetic, huh?
All right.
How pathetic.
Have we had enough fun?
Yeah.
Can we move on to bigger and better things?
Yeah. So drones.
Yeah, we have a whole nother segment to go. Hold on to your hats.
You thought that was exciting.
Speaking of raining hellfire on your opponents, drones.
They hurt even more than tweets, dude.
Nothing could hurt quite as much as the dreaded alliterative two name nickname.
Mediocre Musk. Yeah, man. Right. I mean, it's good to be reminded in times like these that there are actually serious things happening in the world, and that this stupidity could actually have dire consequences for our country. Good. Glad to wipe the smiles off of everyone's faces. I was going to talk about drones though, because there have been some interesting developments. So I just wanted to talk about that some. So about a week ago, Ukraine struck all over Russia with drones, struck their air bases and destroyed and damaged billions of dollars worth of strategic bombers. Many of these are planes that Russia no longer has the industrial base to build, like their former Soviet bombers.
Speaking of industrial base, just to derail you right at the beginning.
Good.
Did you know that Russia and Ukraine's GDP has increased like every year the war has been going?
Yeah, kind of makes sense, I guess. They're making a lot more stuff.
Right.
They're just buying stuff, basically, is what it is.
Well, I mean, if you make
GDP is a terrible measure.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's the takeaway there. Yeah. No, I didn't know that, but I guess it kind of makes sense because they're like building a bunch of drones that then go fly and get destroyed. So like, GDP doesn't account for like gross destruction of stuff that you have.
GDP does not account for like the money you spend on things that are immediately turned to shreds.
Cool. Yeah. Well, so I think probably we've all been aware that drones are a big factor in this war. And so this strike was, very damaging and a pretty audacious thing. They loaded a bunch of containers onto trucks with drones, and the lid of the trucks came off. They hired random truck drivers across Russia, just like, here, pick up this container, drop it over there, like like just like drop it a half mile from that airbase. They didn't phrase it like that. They said, take it to this location.
It feels like we won't know the details of this exactly. The way you phrased it, it's like, yeah, we hired some truckers and we basically trusted that they wouldn't look inside the truck bed.
I mean, truckers don't look inside their containers, right? This is like a whole profession. So like your job is you take it to where it's being delivered.
It's the trucker's code.
Right, it's the trucker's code. There's nothing at all suspicious for a trucker being hired to carry a container from A to B. That's exactly what they do all the time.
What if B is right next to a Air Force base, though?
I mean, the thing is, like,
they need supplies.
Right. I mean, Air Force bases are they're all over the place.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Like, it's not that strange. So anyway, I mean, there are lots of interesting wrinkles to the story. Like, apparently the drones were actually manufactured inside Russia. It's one claim that they're making was that so that they shipped the parts into Russia, but then they actually assembled them there.
Wow. That's a huge security failure. Man.
Well, I mean, it's also amazing to watch the videos. I don't know if you've watched the videos of these drones. So I think they were mostly using the Russian cell network to remotely control these. These are human-operated drones. And you can see they're just like these airfields, just jets everywhere, and they're like, where's the expensive one? And they like fly over, and they had like, these drones, they don't carry huge bombs, right? They have small payloads. So you have to hit in the right spot. And so they just sort of like had all the time in the world to just like go down to the right spot. And then the video cuts out. And then you look at the satellite images and there's just like piles of ash, like airplane shaped piles of ash. So yeah, they did a lot of damage. One of the most successful operations of the war. Kind of incredible. It came a day before they were going to do their ceasefire negotiations. And anyway, I don't know if you guys pay attention to all this ceasefire negotiation silliness. There's no prospect of a ceasefire. Like both sides. I mean, okay, maybe a short-term thing, but both sides are very dissatisfied with the current state of the war, and they're not gonna like have a truce.
Has Ukraine like moved off its position of like restore the territorial boundaries of Ukraine? I feel
No.
like that's been their goal from the beginning. So if that's not being offered, they're not going to come to the negotiation table.
Right. I mean, and anyway, just to take a moment to shit on our moron president. I mean, yeah, the idea that he's recently described these as two fighting kids. It's like, no, it's like a bully and like someone that's standing up for themselves would be a little bit more accurate.
It's more like an adult came over and started kicking a little kid, dude. Russia is humongous compared to Ukraine.
Right. And by the way, Ukraine was our ally.
I like this metaphor because in this metaphor, we then gave the kid guns.
Yeah.
Here you go, buddy.
So yeah, anyway, I mean, there's a lot that is interesting about this. One thing that's interesting is like how replicable this is, right? Like the US has air bases all over. We've got expensive equipment laying around all over.
Now,
if an adversary...
So, I don't know. Does your line of thinking maybe relate to the fact that your hometown is currently under U.S. military occupation? Or are you thinking maybe more like it would be bad if the military got bombed?
Yeah, no, I think I'm not, this is not a suggestion. No, like what I'm saying is like Pearl Harbor 2.0, like, is waiting to happen in the US. I mean, there's of course the military, but I mean, I think that this technology is moving in a direction where really any high value target is just going to be really vulnerable to this. Utilities, whatever, infrastructure, high profile people, and of course military, like, yeah, aircraft, very vulnerable, like gas, like anything flammable. So, I mean, I'm a little worried about like, I'm already worried about just like how much of a authoritarian asshole Donald Trump is. But like, what's really problematic is when some of those authoritarian tendencies actually have a shred of justification. For example, right now in Russia, they're stopping all the trucks and inspecting them, right? Because they're like, we don't want to lose billions of more dollars of bombers. And that like, and it's kind of like, how at the airports, we all have to take off our shoes and take our laptops out, right? So like when this kind of technology can do this kind of damage, like there's some amount of justification to really tamp down on civil liberties. And that's really concerning to me is there's some people are of the opinion that China is planning to invade Taiwan in 2027. Like, for example, she has instructed the military to be ready to do so. They're doing lots of drills for like setting up naval blockades around the island and stuff like that, being aggressive, like building artificial islands in other countries' territorial waters and claiming them to be their own. You can imagine that if Ukraine has the capacity to set off this kind of an attack across Russia, when Russia is at war, on the lookout for sabotage and this kind of thing, that the U.S. is very vulnerable to something like this. And yeah, it's worrying. And
China's a planning state, They're capable of doing long-term projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. How much effective planning do you think the U.S. government is doing for 2027 at this point?
I mean, at this point, but I mean, the U.S. has done lots of great planning. Yeah, like right now, I don't think they're planning much. I don't know. Like, let's see. So they're talking about the Golden Dome, right? Big air defense system.
Star Wars 2. This time for
maybe
no
he's going
point.
to take that out now that he's feuding with Elon, dude.
Right. Yeah. What other thing? I mean, so it's not like the Republicans have no policies that they do, and some of them, for example, they're planning to cut Medicare after the next presidential election, right? So they plan. So yeah, I don't know, but right, we let the markets do more. I don't know, like the CHIPS Act certainly was like a big investment in domestic manufacturing. It takes years to build factories, so the U.S. has multi-year long projects. And yeah, and when we just like thrash back and forth between administrations that try to do things like cancel each other's policies out of spite, that can be problematic.
What is that one like memorandum or whatever about abortion that they switch back and forth every time? It's like a formality almost. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like a good amount of what Trump wants is just to be against whatever his political opponents are for.
You think
There
it's
was
that, or do you think he just has like a total monopoly on like being wrong?
no, not at all. I mean, I think he's been right about some things, right? Like
I
I know,
hesitate
I'm
to agree
sorry,
with that.
you hesit. I know. I mean, or like let's say, even if he hasn't been right, he's like he has. So like for example, like with in the first term with the trade war with China, like he sort of saw China as an adversary and was ready to talk about it before the Democrats were. And China absolutely saw us as an adversary and like long before then. So yeah, I think
Disagree, but I can see where your head is at least.
yeah, I think what are some other ones? Yeah, I mean, I'd say like whether so with immigration or like with the border. Yeah, I mean, it's not that he was like right, but he's like viscerally opposed to immigration and like the situation at the border was a little ridiculous the way that the asylum system was being taken advantage of or being gamed was ridiculous. And like Democrats were not in a hurry to do anything about it. Like, yes, eventually, right, they were supportive of some bill
No, I
related to
mean,
it.
I just disagree that he was right about the border, and I disagree that Democrats weren't on board for being terrible about the border. They were deporting as many, if not more, people. I think America's better with more immigrants, and the formalities of which are unimportant.
Yeah, so I think that I think the formalities are important. I mean, formalities like the laws of like immigration law and process, I think is important. Anyway, I want to talk about drones. Well, it was my point. My point is Trump is stupid. I don't know. How did we get in here? I said that he's not always wrong. We were talking about thrashing back and forth, and I'm saying he's not always wrong.
Mm-hmm. So you were worried about this style of attack maybe incentivizing the US government to crack down on like trucking or something and further impede
He's just
civil
worried that like
liberties.
a whole bunch of like U.S. service members are going to get killed because we're not ready.
Talking about a couple of things. Yeah, there are two things. I'm reminded a lot of October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. There were two things that were really upsetting there when that happened. One was all the people who died, and the other was the knowledge that, or the sad near certainty that Israel's reaction would be equally bad, if not worse. And that's how I feel about this. Pearl Harbor 2.0 will be very harmful to America. Everything we work for and pay taxes for, our infrastructure, our military, our, a lot, and the people who are defending it and working there can be killed and destroyed, and that would be awful. And then how we respond to that would likely be even worse. Also, like September 11th, another example. So yeah, I'm worried about both of these things.
Makes me think of so way back in the day, there's this war game the U.S. did called the Millennium Challenge 2002, which was basically like the Navy and the Marines were like training, and so they set up this war game that was basically like the U.S. versus an unnamed Persian Gulf state. So it was the U.S. Versus some like proxy for like Iraq or Iran or one of those states that we might be invading for totally great reasons, I'm sure. So the guy who was in charge of the like red, like the enemy forces, like was a US guy, and so he basically like threw out the like what the enemy expected him to do, and he just launched like a suicide wave of speedboats packed with high explosives, and he managed to sink, well, like in the war game, so he managed to sink, let's see, where is it, it's like so much, dude. Yeah, he would have destroyed 16 warships, 1 aircraft carrier, 10 cruisers, and 5 of the 6 invasion ships. An equivalent success in a real conflict would have resulted in the deaths of over 20,000 service personnel. And that was basically because like the whole U.S. Navy is like set up to fight, like other navies, and not just like
Near
a whole bunch
powers.
of like suicide bombers just like rushing them in speedboats, basically.
Right.
And then, so this happened, and then, like, they were supposed to have, like, 12 more days of exercises, so they just, like, restarted it and, like, completely changed the rules so that, like, the U.S. would win this time instead of losing. So I definitely kind of do worry that we're, burying our head in the sand a little bit for these, like, cheap, crazy attacks.
Right. I mean, yeah, we have this huge, incredible, expensive navy all over the world. Yeah, and Ukraine um is demonstrating the kind of damage you can do with naval drones. They've been devastating to the Russian Black Sea Fleet. I mean, they have a variety of things that they're doing, but they include putting bombs on speedboats and driving them driving them into things. So yeah,
I mean, we're just not going to stop that. We're just not. There's no will politically to stop this sort of thing. It's very, like, there are like way more ways to attack these high value targets than to defend them. And in terms of the people who care about the money involved, it suits their interest for these things to be attacked. Like, that means new contracts for replacement goods and further incentive to, you know, and an opportunity to go to war and like get more contracts, you know.
Hey, all right. So there's one other thing I learned about drones today, which has been going on for about a year actually. So Russia sort of started this off. So okay, most drones classically they're radio controlled, right? And so electronic warfare is like jamming their signal. The AI are not very sophisticated, and these things basically are useless without their human controller. So that's been the most used countermeasure to drones in the war so far. And so Russia started attaching spools of fiber optics to their drones, and now electronic warfare countermeasures don't work. These spools can be like 20 kilometers long. Like, this is now widely used and very effective. And there's just like little fiber optic cables like being unspooled from drones all over the battlefield, which is just insane. I just would not have guessed that would ever work. It's like, can't you just
Like
come
a
and
tow
like
missile,
tug it?
but
I was immediately, yes, tow missile is a wire-guided missile. So we've already been doing the sort of thing for missiles now, just like a little drone with like a long spider web kind of filament going out behind it.
Right. So a tow missile also saw something about that, but I didn't get to look into it. So that's just the same thing. The missile carries a wire, and the wire is used to remote control it, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Same idea. Can't be jammed. Its guidance is connected back to the base unit.
There you go. So, I was not aware of that. Cool. That's why you come to me for the expertise in drones and autonomy. Yeah. Anyway, so I just think that's.
Does that mean we're going to get like countermeasure drones where they're like trying to, destroy each other's fiber optic cables? They have little scissors.
Scissor drones.
I was brainstorming
Snip, snip,
that.
bitch.
I was brainstorming that, but I guess like the wires mostly would just like lay on the ground, right?
Yeah, it's probably like, plus, it's a needle in a haystack situation.
It's already so hard to find the drone and like target it. Like, imagine doing the same but for like a millimeter thick wire.
I was just imagining they like have drones going back and forth along the front line, just like carrying like a blade,
carrying like a giant thresher.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, drones getting crazy, gonna be a really big problem, including for us. So invest in Lockheed
or whoever makes the drones, since Lockheed makes the big drones like the Predator drones, but like the little Japanese electronic companies are where you should invest, right? That's what's doing these wire guided things.
Some sort of battery manufacturer, maybe, because they all need a little battery.
Yeah, invest in Tesla.
Invest in a bunch of Chinese companies. Yeah, cool. So there you go. That's the present and future of war, guys. It's uplifting stuff, and that's why I'm okay with the police using horses.
Wire guided horses. They've just got like
they are kind of wire guided, right? Reins are sort of like a wire.
That's true.
Yeah, the wires go straight back to the operator.
I'm not okay with the police using horses to trample protesters.
Me neither.
Just gonna put it out there.
It's all relative.
Taking a bold moral stance.
Mm-hmm.
It could be worse, right?
True. It's almost always true, though.
Exactly. All right. Well,
Speaking
on that
of
note,
it could be worse.
You could have come to the end of this delightful episode, dude. What could be worse than that?
Unfortunately, that reality has come to pass.
Yeah.
It's been another banger of an episode of the Info Hazard podcast. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do the comments, make your comment on a piece of sandstone, etch it, leave it on the beach, have it be washed away by the tide, or put it on YouTube or at
Do you think horses
infohazardshow
should
at
tramp-
gmail.com.
Yeah. See you next
Poetical.
time.
Bow, bow.